In 2014, I prophesied that France's greatest challenge would soon be upon us. Now, the whys are predicting that a war in Europe is an inevitability, not a matter of if, but a matter of when. But we must also consider how and what spirit we are of when we fight it. Otherwise, we may risk becoming no better than those who invade us and those who sent the invasion. Je guiderai le Dauphin jusqu'à son couronnement à Rome et sauverai moi-même la France. But all must be done in God's time and in accordance with the rules for a just war. From at least the time of St. Augustine, there was a concept, and rules began to be laid out, further cemented over the course of the Middle Ages, the likes of St. Thomas Aquinas. The first rule of a just war is that the cause itself must be just. I know from my Hollywood contact in 2015, before the Islamic invasion even began, the refugee crisis, that those in power, and she was vague and specific at the same time, but I shall not spill out the details, but rather the result and the intent. The intent of these mass immigrations in France and throughout Western Europe is the destruction of those nations. Even when the immigrants are third, fourth generation French, they have been taught to hate the eldest daughter of the church. They've been taught to form, alter cultures in that very realm. I use France as an example, not simply through personal preference, but also because it is destined to start the counter-offensive. It is destined to save Christendom. But it is likely going to be the prime battleground of the Third World War, just as it was for the first two. So, we have invading force that will require a sort of quote-unquote civil war between the corrupt government and the next part I will get to later. In the meantime, the fact is that these invaders rape our women, sexually enslave our children, and burn our churches to the ground. Oh nom Dieu, notre cause est juste. However, in order for a just war to justly be declared, it must have a legitimate authority behind it. It can't be some leader of a revolution. It can't be some caliph of ISIS. Even if the current liberal democracies are too corrupt, too enthralled to the global elite who started this all, to ever make any sort of countermeasure. And I hope they can. I hope that Marine Le Pen, for example, is elected somehow, is permitted into office. And I suspect only half measures will be possible. But miracles do happen, and perhaps our sins are not so great that violence will be necessary. Still, it does seem that these liberal democracies are too in thrall of the global elite to ever treat us fairly. We would need another legitimate authority, such as the Dauphin of France. The third requirement of a just war is a right intention. It is for peace, not gain, justice, not revenge. We must remember what spirit we are of, and that our war is to restore peace and save Christendom. It is only fair that Catholics and Christians have a place where they are safe to worship, safe to live, if these other nations do as well. And they seem to have people to spare. The fourth principle of just war is proportionality. That which is to be saved must not be outweighed by the damage caused. This is to save Christendom. This is to save Western Europe, the true natives of Europe. And I don't need to tell you what color they are. They face annihilation if this diabolical plan comes to fruition. A war will save lives and souls. When Catholicism is restored to these realms. The fifth principle of a just war is the last resort. Peace must be offered the enemy. All other options besides violence must be exhausted. I have always adhered to this, even unto folly, to speak little of ridicule. Can we really vote our way out of this? Pray that we can. Mais il me semble, as my birth saint, Cassius Longinus, could attest, il n'aurait pas une paix si elle n'est pas au bout d'une lance. The sixth principle of a just war is probability of success. Everything must be well ordered and well led. Yes, it is true. But when you look at what has already been done the last 10 years, when 500,000 hostiles are in Paris alone, the probability of success shrinks by the day. Mais Sainte Thérèse me dit, préparons-nous pour la bataille, calculez les troncs des catholiques. Et en nom de Dieu, les soldats bataillent, et Dieu lui donne la victoire. What of the non-combatants? What when we have finally freed ourselves of the lies of feminism, we realize that the reason the invaders, for example, have not seemed to come from any demographic but military-aged young men. Where are the women? Where are their women? The women of Europe are their women. They're intended to be their sport. The evil of those behind this I shall not describe at the moment. The non-combatants must be protected. You know how the invaders rape, pillage, loot, and groom sex slaves? Well, we can't do that. Fortunately, the very fact that the invaders tend to be of the combatant type means that we don't have to worry as much about harming innocents, if it ever comes to that. The men of Christendom must remember that they are men. And their women must be defended. Their children must be defended. Whatever show we may put on, we can't truly defend ourselves. I, of all people, know the difference between a man's strength of high testosterone and that of a woman. There's a massive sexual dimorphism there. We need you. I will go in, I will use my lifelong emergency situation first aid experience to aid you. I will die to do God's will. But we need real men. We need you. I should add, the question, of course, is that since no war seems to end nowadays, could such a vast-scale one ever do so? And the answer is simple. The reason why these wars are endless is because it benefits the liberal global elite, the conservative, the neocon global elite, to continue these wars, to profit from them. They have no love of Christendom. They have no love of our nations and our traditions. However, if you have someone like the Dauphin, such as the Dauphin of France, perhaps the monarchy then should be restored. If the laws are based on the principles of Catholicism. Those who live here have an interest in ending the war. Those who live in all the nations of Europe, those who directly suffer from its perpetuation, they have a reason to end the war. I am not trying to start a war. I'm trying to finish it. Now, the wise are predicting that a war in Western Europe, even a civil war, is not only a matter of if, but a matter of when. Cut my dress there.